Hello, I'm Eternally Optimistic, and welcome to my first show. Modern media is often criticized for enforcing the role of princesses and female characters, giving them a position of power without having to assume too much responsibility. And because the Disney princess line is the single biggest selling point for the House of Mouse, they often get blamed for enforcing the stereotype the most. I'll admit there is something to be said against the princess line. That being said, if the worst you can say about a character is that they're just nice, that's hardly cause to call them a bad role model. And to be fair, Disney's more recent princesses have become more than just damsels in distress. They're stronger, more independent, and more well-developed with each new movie. So today I'd like to pay tribute to my top 6 favorite Disney princesses of all time. Why top 6? Well, let's just say I had my top 5 all figured out, and then realized I'd forgotten a more obscure princess in Disney history who was actually one of my favorite characters of all time. So rather than bump one of the other girls off, I just decided to make it a top 6 list, because it's my list and I can do that. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this countdown of my top 6 favorite Disney princesses. Number 6. Rapunzel from Tangled. Rapunzel is the kind of girl I'd want to be friends with. She's charming, friendly, and fun-loving. Her greatest strength is her kindness and how willing she is to see the good in everyone. And while she may not be the kind of bold, outgoing character we associate with strong women in the media today, she's hardly a weak character. She's always the one in control when dealing with Flynn, and even saves him just as many times as he saves her, if not more. She stands up to the thugs in the Snuggly Duckling and is even able to look past their intimidating appearances and appeal to their better natures. The only reason she submitted to Gothel for so long is because she was trying to be a good daughter, which isn't a bad thing. The problem was with how Gothel chose to manipulate such a well-meaning young woman. Moreover, people underestimate how much strength it takes to go through something as horrible as Rapunzel did and not let it change you for the worse. That Rapunzel was able to endure an abusive relationship for so long and still find reason to smile is pretty impressive. And the moment where she finally does stand up to Gothel is every bit as impressive as when Quasimodo finally stands up to Frollo.
Listen to me, Quasimodo.
No, you listen! All my life you have told me that the world is a dark, cruel place. But now I see that the only thing dark and cruel about it is people like you.
It's all right. Listen to me. All of this is as it should be.
No! You were wrong about the world. And you were wrong about me.
Rapunzel is a kind, caring person who's quick to accept and include other people. And while she may not be particularly athletic, she certainly is artistic. People criticize the character because she married the first man she ever met. Honestly, it never really bothered me because the two do have such great chemistry. In the end, Rapunzel's greatest strength is not who she married anyway. It's how she can brighten any person's day just by talking to them.
Hey, for the record, I like Eugene Fitzherbert much better than Flynn Rider.
Well, then you'd be the first. But thank you.
If you can dream.
Number 5. Mira Nova from Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. This is one of only 2 characters on the list who isn't part of the official Disney Princess franchise line. She's definitely a more obscure character from a more obscure show, but deserves a mention all the same. She's Buzz Lightyear's co-pilot, and a capable one at that. She's physically strong, and it's even mentioned that she's one of the best rookies ever to come out of Star Command. But she's also a mental powerhouse, coming from a planet of people possessing psychic abilities. She can read and even control minds, as well as walk through solid walls, making her a valuable asset to the team. With so many strengths, she could easily have felt too perfect, but she had enough flaws to balance out her character. She could be stubborn and insecure, and sometimes the need to prove herself got in the way of completing a mission. She also acted more on emotion than Buzz ever did, which worked out well in some cases and not so great in others. For a spin-off show, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command was impressively deep, incredibly witty, and surprisingly dark at times. It was an excellent show, and such a strong, well-written female lead was a huge contributing factor.
Fire, fire, cover, fire, turn, blast. Hey, XR, isn't that combat sequence 1 from Ranger training?
Hey, you're right. That's a standard maneuver.
Well then, let's be unconventional.
If you can dream.
Number 4. Tiana from The Princess and the Frog. This is definitely a Disney princess for modern audiences. She's more concerned with following her own dreams than finding a man. She even puts her social life on hold to work extra hours, doing all that she possibly can to achieve her goals. This was definitely the attitude I had in high school, and something I'm sure a lot of girls today can relate to. Now, it's true that even Tiana finds a prince in the end, but the chemistry comes from what these two can learn from each other. He's a wild party animal who has no sense of responsibility, and Tiana has perhaps too much of a sense of responsibility and won't ever allow herself a night off. Their relationship develops naturally, and we really do see Tiana struggling as her priorities begin to shift. The strength of the movie is that Tiana's workaholic nature is viewed as both a good thing and a bad thing, and that she's finally rewarded for all her hard work, but also learned how to relax and have fun. It's this balance that makes her such a strong role model.
My daddy never did get what he wanted. But he had what he needed. He had love. He never lost sight of what was really important.
Easy with that. Careful.
And neither will I.
If you can dream.
Number 3. Belle from Beauty and the Beast. This film has always been my favorite from the Disney Renaissance period. As a shy, studious, nerdy girl growing up, I could really relate to a woman who would rather spend time with a good book than an arrogant jerk she legitimately had no interest in. And again, even though Belle is kind and soft-spoken, this does not make her weak. She charges into the woods alone to find her father, takes his place as the Beast's prisoner, and even stands up to the Beast when he yells at her. She is the hero of the movie, the stable, balanced character who helps the Beast overcome his emotional insecurities. Yes, she does eventually get the fairy tale ending with the prince and the castle and the pretty dresses, but she's a deep thinker and a kind soul who teaches all of us not to judge a book by its cover.
Now hold still. This might sting a little. By the way, thank you for saving my life.
You're welcome.
If you can dream.
Number 2. Mulan. Mulan is the ultimate go-getter. When her elderly father is called to war, a war he surely won't survive, she doesn't listen to anyone who tries telling her she can't do anything about it. Not her father, and not even society. She cuts her hair, steals her father's armor, and takes his place in the Chinese army, putting herself at great personal risk. Not only could she be killed in battle, but if her own troops discover her true identity, she'll be put to death. Mulan is very much out of her element for most of the film. She struggles with army training, but is able to use her cleverness to find creative solutions to her problems. By the end, she is stronger physically, but it's still her resourcefulness and quick thinking that always saves the day. She's a fighter from beginning to end, but she's also humble. When Mushu tries to convince her that at least she had good intentions running away from home, she can only see herself as selfish and a failure. She inspires him to change his ways, own up to his actions, and be a better person. The moment between Mulan and her father in the garden is one of the most powerful scenes in the whole film. I've always felt like a late bloomer, so to see such a strong message about how everyone moves at their own pace really resonated with me, as I'm sure it did for a lot of girls. And even when all of China, including the Emperor himself, is bowing down to her, she can only stare in shock. She wants none of the glory the Emperor offers her. Everything she did in the film, she did out of love, for her father, her friends, or her country. Mulan is a strong Chinese woman from a time when China was not particularly kind to its women. But the legend of Hua Mulan dates all the way back to the 6th century. Even in one of the most hopeless times for a woman to live, someone was thinking of them. honoring them and commemorating their value.
Father, I brought you the sword of Shan Yu and the crest of the Emperor. They're gifts to honor the Fa family.
The greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter.
So who did I choose as the pinnacle of Disney princess perfection? The answer may surprise you, but beware of spoilers for a film that isn't even a year old yet. And my number one favorite Disney princess is Vanellope von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph. Now I know what some of you may be thinking, but she's not technically a princess. Well, technically she is, and even if she doesn't identify herself as one, anyone outside of the gaming world would know her as such. But putting that technicality aside for a moment, let's look at the other characters I've included on this list. They're all strong, independent women who haven't always had it easy, but follow their hearts and have come to accept themselves for who they are, even if who they are is a little quirky or offbeat. Vanellope encompasses all of these traits, and she is 9 years old. She may not be physically strong like Ralph, or capable with a weapon like Calhoun, but it takes an extraordinary amount of strength to endure what she did and still remain positive. And yes, I'll point out again what others have said. Her glitch is very much the fantasy equivalent of a real-world disability.
I'm not a glitch, Taffeta. I've just got pixlexia, okay?
The other racers treat her with fear at best and contempt at worst because of it. All she wants is to be a real racer, but the other characters do everything in their power to keep her from realizing that dream. Her life before the events of the film was miserable, even worse than Ralph's. But the first time we see her, she isn't wallowing in self-pity. Not only does she survive in a world that does everything possible to tear her down, she stays hopeful and takes advantage of every opportunity presented her. 3 times during the course of the film, she is given a shot at her dream, and each time her hopes are crushed at the last possible second in the cruelest possible ways. And she still never resorts to bitterness. Even when she's restored to her rightful place on the throne and is in the perfect position to exact revenge on everyone who was mean to her, she doesn't take advantage of it. She seems perfectly willing to let bygones be bygones and is just happy to have friends. She even rejects the title of princess in favor of a constitutional democracy where everyone is treated equally. How many times have we seen that in a Disney movie? What little girl in a Disney film in the past would have given up the princess title and all the frilly dresses that go with it in favor of a title that sounds much less fancy and carries a much heavier sense of responsibility? Vanellope's circumstances make her one of the most relatable characters in Disney history, and the way she responds to them makes her one of the greatest role models they've ever created.
You know, you could just stay here and live in the castle. You'd have your own wing where no one would ever complain about your stench or treat you bad ever again. You could be happy.
I'm already happy. Got the coolest friend in the world.
I hope you've enjoyed this video, and seeing as this is my first episode, feedback is appreciated. Leave me a comment telling me what you liked or didn't like, and if there's a princess you think should have been on this list, let me know why. I'm eternally optimistic. Catch you guys next time.
If you can dream.
So who did I choose as the pinnacle of Disney princess perfection? I don't even know.